When I first met my wife, I felt like I had won the lottery. She was everything I had ever dreamed of in a partner, beautiful, intelligent, and full of life. Her family was also incredibly successful, a world away from my own humble, working-class background. At first, this difference didn't seem to matter at all. Her parents welcomed me with open arms, and her father, a very generous man, made it clear that he wanted to see us happy and secure. He saw me as a hard worker, someone who could provide a stable and loving foundation for his daughter, and I was eager to live up to that expectation. The love we shared felt genuine and strong, a bond that I believed could withstand any challenge life threw our way. The early years of our marriage were blissful, a period I now look back on with a mix of warmth and sadness. We built a life together that felt like a dream come true. My father-in-law's generosity was a constant presence. He helped us with the down payment on our first home, a beautiful house in a neighborhood I never imagined I could afford. He would often surprise us with gifts, from lavish vacations to practical things that made our lives easier. I worked my full-time job, proud to be contributing, and my wife and I shared the responsibilities of our home. We were a team, or so I thought. Our happiness seemed unshakable, and I was convinced that I had found my forever partner. Looking back, I can see that the foundation was perhaps not as solid as I believed. The financial support, while incredibly helpful, created a subtle imbalance that I didn't recognize at the time. I was so grateful for their help that I never wanted to seem unappreciative or demanding. I focused on being the perfect husband, always agreeable and supportive, never wanting to cause any friction. I thought that by being easygoing I was contributing to the peace and happiness of our marriage. I didn't realize that I was slowly giving away my voice in the relationship, setting a precedent that would come back to haunt me in the most painful ways imaginable. Our life felt like a modern fairy tale. We had a beautiful home, financial security, and a love that seemed to light up every room. I would come home from my job tired but fulfilled, ready to spend the evening with the woman I adored. We would talk for hours, make plans for the future, and dream about starting a family of our own. The wealth that surrounded us was just a backdrop to what I believed was a pure and simple love story. I was the hardworking guy who had won the heart of the princess, and I was determined to give her the happy ending she deserved, no matter what it took. I was naive, but I was also deeply in love. The arrival of our daughter should have been the happiest moment of our lives, and in many ways, it was. Holding her for the first time filled me with a love so profound it took my breath away. But her birth also marked a dramatic shift in our marriage, a change that happened so gradually, I barely noticed it at first. My wife, who had not worked outside the home since we were married, naturally took on the role of primary caregiver. But soon, an unspoken contract began to form. All of the childcare duties, from late-night feedings to diaper changes and doctor's appointments, fell squarely on my shoulders, even though I was still working my 40-hour-a-week job. I tried to be the supportive husband and father I always wanted to be. I would rush home from work, not to relax, but to start my second shift. I'd cook dinner, bathe our daughter, do the laundry, and clean the kitchen, often while my wife relaxed on the sofa, scrolling through her phone. If I even hinted at being tired, I was met with a sharp reminder that she had been with the baby all day. My efforts were no longer seen as helping, they were expected. The partnership we once shared had dissolved, replaced by a new dynamic where I was the sole provider of labor, both outside and inside the home. The imbalance grew more pronounced with each passing month. My wife began to manage every aspect of our home life with an iron fist, yet she participated in none of the actual work. She would create detailed chore lists for me, critiquing my cleaning or complaining that the laundry wasn't folded to her exact specifications. All household decisions, from what we ate for dinner to how the furniture was arranged, were made by her, without any input from me. My opinion no longer seemed to matter. I felt like I was becoming more of an employee in my own home than a husband and partner, working tirelessly to meet a set of ever-changing and impossible standards. My attempts to discuss the situation were always shut down. If I tried to talk about how exhausted I was accused of being selfish and ungrateful. "Do you have any idea how lucky you are?" she would ask, referencing her family's financial support. "My father gave us this house and you're complaining about washing a few dishes?" The conversation would end there, with me feeling guilty and ashamed. I started to believe that maybe she was right. Maybe this was the price I had to pay for the comfortable life her family had provided. So, I silenced my own needs and kept working, hoping that my dedication would eventually be recognized and appreciated. The turning point, when things went from quietly painful to openly hostile, came on my wife's birthday. Her father, in another grand gesture of generosity, bought her a brand new luxury SUV. It was a stunning vehicle, and she was thrilled. I thought it might bring some joy back into our home, but instead, it seemed to fuel her sense of entitlement and control. The car became a symbol of her independence from me, and her connection to her family's power and wealth. It was as if sitting in the driver's seat of that expensive machine gave her the license to treat me with complete disdain. The dynamic in our marriage shifted from imbalance to abusive almost overnight. Her verbal attacks became sharper and more frequent. The insults were no longer just about my housework. They were personal, designed to cut me down. She would call me pathetic for driving my older, modest car. She'd mock my job, calling it insignificant compared to her father's business empire. "You would be nothing without me and my family," she'd sneer during an argument. "You should be on your knees thanking me every day." Her words were like little daggers, chipping away at my self-esteem until I started to believe them. I began to feel small and worthless, just as she wanted me to. The control extended to every corner of my life. She demanded access to my phone and social media accounts, checking my messages for any perceived slight. Intimacy in our marriage became another tool for manipulation. It was something she would grant as a reward for my good behavior, or withhold as punishment when I failed to meet her expectations. I felt completely powerless. She controlled the finances, the social calendar, and now, even my personal connections and our physical relationship. I was walking on eggshells every single day, trying to anticipate her moods and avoid doing anything that might set her off. The loving partner I had married was gone, replaced by a cold and calculating warden. Then, one evening, the abuse turned physical. We were arguing about something trivial. I had forgotten to buy the specific brand of organic milk she wanted for our daughter. Her anger escalated with frightening speed. She backed me into a corner in the kitchen, her face twisted with rage. She screamed at me, calling me incompetent and useless. Then she slapped me hard across the face. The shock of it was just as painful as the sting on my cheek. In that moment, I realized I wasn't just in an unhappy marriage, I was in a dangerous one. It was the first time she had laid a hand on me, but I knew with a sickening certainty that it would not be the last. Perfect. Living in this reality has taken a devastating toll on me, both emotionally and physically. I am in a constant state of anxiety, my stomach churning every time I hear her car pull into the driveway. My home, which should be my sanctuary, now feels like a prison where I am the sole inmate and she is the guard. I have trouble sleeping, often jolted awake by nightmares where I am trying to scream but no sound comes out. During the day, I struggle to concentrate at work, my mind consumed with worry about what kind of mood I will find her in when I get home. The constant stress has led to chronic headaches and a feeling of exhaustion that no amount of rest can fix. The fear is the worst part. It's a cold, heavy presence that sits in my chest day and night. I'm afraid of her anger, of her words that make me feel worthless, and of her fists. The physical abuse has happened a few more times since that first slap, a shove down the stairs that she claimed was an accident, a punch to my arm that left a deep bruise I had to hide under long sleeves. I am a man, and I know society expects me to be strong, to not be a victim, but the shame of it is paralyzing. Who would believe me? I feel completely and utterly alone in this, trapped by my love for my daughter and the financial web her family has woven around us. My deepest desire is to save my marriage. I still see glimpses of the woman I fell in love with, especially when she is happy and relaxed, but those moments are becoming rarer. I love my daughter more than life itself, and the thought of breaking up our family is unbearable. I want her to grow up with both her parents in a loving home, not one torn apart by anger and resentment. I keep hoping that if I just try harder, if I am more patient, more understanding, that we can find our way back to the happiness we once had. I don't want to give up on us, but I also know that I cannot continue to live like this. The suffering is becoming too much to bear. This is why I am sharing my story. I am at a crossroads and I don't know which way to turn. How do you set boundaries with someone who holds all the power? How can I protect my well-being without destroying my family? I am asking for your advice, for your wisdom. I need to know if there is a path forward that allows me to save my marriage while also saving myself. I need to stop the abuse, but I am terrified of the consequences of speaking up. Please tell me what to do. How do I stop being a victim and become a husband and father in a healthy, balanced partnership again?